What's up, everybody? I'm John Middlekauff. You know what I need you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got content for days reacting to every NFL game all the time, every single day. Subscribe, like the videos. Let's go. We have some serious disasters right now in the NFL. I went on with Colin earlier today, and we talked about a lot of these situations, but I think that we even need to go more in depth of just truly how ugly some of these current state of the NFL franchises are. I mean, especially when you factor in the hype behind them, it's pretty rare. Like every year, you're gonna have bad teams. Look at last year. Let's just look at who drafted one. Carolina. It's like, yeah, they've sucked for a while. Washington, like they've sucked most of Dan Snyder's era. The New England Patriots, like they had kind of been bad for a couple years. That's why Belichick was on the hot seat, right? The Chargers, like Brandon Staley's a joke. This year we got teams circling that top pick who some viewed as playoff teams, some viewed as teams that could win their conference. And if we were just doing a disaster rankings, I think it's pretty unequivocally the Chicago Bears. Because the Jets, one, they've always sucked. And this notion that their coaching, we'll dive into them in a second, but the Bears finished strong last year. And most people thought that their defense could be one of the best in the league. You had this number one overall pick who I would say like Trevor Lawrence and Andrew Luck level hype for 3 years in college. The hype behind Caleb Williams started his freshman year at Oklahoma. He has been abysmal. He has been a disaster. If you just watch the game today, him versus Drake May, and you knew nothing about college football, you never watched these guys play, you didn't even know anything about the draft, you didn't know where they were drafted. I just told you, both these two guys are first-year starting quarterbacks, and both their teams are kind of in shambles. But the Bears have a way better team and have way better offensive weapons for the quarterback to throw to. Both offensive lines are not very good. Just watch the game and tell me what you think after. What quarterback would you rather have? There would not be a soul that would watch that game and come away and say they would rather have Caleb Williams than Drake May. Caleb Williams right now looks like a scrub. He really does. And listen, everyone, and understandably and rightfully so, is shitting on the coaching staff. Eberflus, dead man walking, by the time you listen to this, maybe he gets fired. Though I think historically the Bears have never fired a coach in season, so they'll probably let it play out. Obviously, Shane Waldron, not going well. But if you just watch Caleb play, there's no other takeaway than like, this guy's not good at football right now. And you watch Drake May play, you go, God, I kind of like this. Like, obviously, Jaden has a more buttoned-up operation. Dan Quinn, good coach. Cliff, clearly a good offensive coordinator. They got some running backs. McLaurin's a good player, depending on McCaffrey's brother. Catch some balls. Like, it's not like they're super loaded at wide receiver. But you watch Jaden play and you go, that's a big-time player. If you've watched Bo Nix over the course of the season, you're like, kind of gets better every week. Is he ever going to be some superstar? Probably not. But that's a starting quarterback in the NFL. Then you watch Caleb and you just like leave. Like, what am I missing? And I'm not trying to act like I didn't like him in college. I thought he was really talented. I would have taken him number one overall. But like that, the draft happened. He went number one overall. And he's on the Bears. His star wide receiver, DJ Moore, I think it's pretty clear, does not like him. That's kind of a problem. It'd be one thing, DJ Moore's got a little like T.O. and, Antonio Brown to him. No, it feels like DJ's kind of got along with everybody and played with a lot of shitty quarterbacks and produced. And this guy is so much worse than every guy he's played with. He's just kind of snapping. Now, he was clearly a Justin Fields guy, but I think if you ask him halfway through the season, like, of course I was Justin Fields guy. Look at the guy I'm playing with. And there were some people, and I'm not acting like I was one of them, that said, listen, this guy can't play from within the pocket. And I always think, like, if he's talented enough, coach him up, his wide receivers are good enough, you'll figure it out. But you watch him from the pocket, it's atrocious. His deep ball accuracy isn't even close. Eberflus, all these guys are going to get fired. It's inevitable. It's happening. Could happen this week, could happen in 3 weeks, could happen at the end of the season. This team sucks. Easy to blame the coaches. Totally get it. But the quarterback's been really, really bad. I mean, really bad. And the reason I was a believer in this team, because like, how's the quarterback not going to be solid? He's got Keenan Allen. He's got Cole Kmet. He's got DJ Moore, who dominates if I was playing wide receiver. They drafted Rome Odunze in the first round. It's like, how are you not going to be just like minimum average? This guy isn't even close to below average. He's just a really, really bad player. And that effort today to lose 19-3 in their last 3 games, 15, 9, and 3. 15, 9, and 3. This team is getting worked right now. I mean, today is one of the uglier games you'll ever see. Like, we'll get to the Jets here in a second. Like, Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old. Their coach has already been fired. Like, what did anyone expect? Devontae's not quite what he once was. Their defense sucks. Sauce Gardner probably has had one of the more disappointing seasons of any young, bright star. The Jets stink. We know that. Anyone that bet on them to win the division is got to be on drugs. And I mean really potent drugs, because that's crazy. But if you thought they were going to be better, okay, it's like, yeah, that's old players. But then we had early evidence like this is going to be a disaster. Team's old. I get it. But the Bears being this bad to lose to the Patriots, who we all thought was an embarrassment as an organization and as a roster, for them to kick your ass. Oh, yeah, the game was in Chicago. I don't see how you shake that. Like, I understand, like, obviously the Jets are a disaster. They're not far behind, but we get it. Like, they sold their soul and it blew up in their face and it's over. And this franchise is going to have a new coach, a new GM. Who knows? Rodgers retires. It's a disaster. The thing with the Bears, like, these are your guys. Like DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet, Caleb Williams. Like, that's your squad for the next like 3 or 4 years. That's like your core players. Like, that's your crew. And it's like, is Bill Walsh just going to show up and fix it? Maybe, but I think there are enough concerns to be like, I said this to Colin. You know, if you go back to Jared Goff's rookie year, Jeff Fisher's season, really ugly. That was the year Richard Sherman, I think, took him out on the sideline. Looked like he couldn't play in the NFL. But if anyone could come and just get him pointed in the right direction, Jared Goff in college was a dominant pocket quarterback. That's what he did well. He didn't run well. It's not like he had some huge bazooka arm. He was a pocket quarterback. So if you could do a good enough job building the team, like, that was his skill set, playing from within the pocket. That to me is the number one question with Caleb. Like, he just doesn't look comfortable in that. And that's the thing with Jaden that's so crazy. It's like, God, this guy's just natural within the pocket. He's very comfortable from throwing within the tackle box. And that's something right now that Caleb, I don't know. And I think he's playing so shitty. Who knows how interesting this job is going to be? I mean, this is not a franchise that pays a lot of money. Like the Jets job. Who's going to be interested in the Jets job? Honestly, who? Bunch of old players, bunch of bad contracts. Sauce Gardner is going to want a ton of money. He's not playing well. Garrett Wilson's going to want a ton of money. You got no quarterback. You could argue whoever takes over the Jets, what you should do, trade everybody. Just yank that thing down to the studs. The Bears, like, it was already yanked to the studs. This is your core. Like the Cowboys. Like, was anyone shocked watching that game today? Team sucks. They do not have much talent on the field. I liked Cooper Rush when he had played in the past. But he played on really good teams. Their defense was excellent. So he just had to kind of manage the game. They could run the ball. Now they're handing the ball off to Ezekiel Elliott, who was just left at home last week for not showing up on time to meetings. He fumbled the ball. The Eagles landed on the ball today. Again, another symbolic Zeke Elliott moment, who all I'd heard, and I just assumed they were correct, super high level guy, Dak's BFF, leader, uh, guy people gravitate to in the locker room. It's like, you just left it. How often do guys that people gravitate to in the locker room at 30 years old or 31 years old or however old he is have to be left at home for showing continuously late to meetings? Of course, the Cowboys got their ass kicked. Obviously, with Dak Prescott being on the sideline, even if he had played in the game, they got no chance in that game. I parlayed today. Nice little hit for me. The Eagles -7.5 in the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I didn't feel going into the game like, yeah, listen, Arizona at home as a dog, like that's just good value. I don't know what Jets team I'm going to get, but more often than not, I get a bad Jets team, so I'll take my chances. I was 100% confident the Eagles were winning that thing by double digits. And honestly, they sleptwalked early in the game, which is understandable because they watched this team on film. They're like, this team sucks. This is the team that we've gone head to head with for the last 3 years, trying to win the division. They've won it a couple times. We've won it once. We probably should have won it twice. It ain't the team anymore. Then you got Dak or Micah after the game saying he doesn't care about Mike McCarthy. You can go read the quotes. I don't want to screw it up, but it's pretty like, it's just like, God, this team is just all over the map. And this is Jerry's doing. Jerry creates this team. Everyone knows that Jerry's in charge, not the head coach. The head coach is dead man walking. His contract's running up. And I said the best thing that ever happened to this team is to keep on losing. A lot like the Chargers last year. Because what happened? They ended up with the 5th overall pick. Well, that's not just for the first round. That's every round. Now, they found their starting right tackle. I look up today, McConkey's making a play. Part of that also is, though, getting the right coach. They got Jim Harbaugh. Can the Cowboys? I don't know. I didn't watch much of this game. I mean, I had it on one of the 4 boxes, but it was every time I looked up, nothing was really happening. The Jags lost with Mac Jones. He threw for 111 yards. He threw 2 interceptions, and he also fumbled. I just don't. I feel for Jags fans. I actually think they've played relatively hard in a lot of their losses. Even the day the game was close, but that's a tough watch. You would, um, I think I would legitimately had to be paid to watch every snap of Mac Jones. And I said this a long time ago when Belichick drafted the guy. In the history of the league, guys like Mac Jones went on the 3rd day of the draft. Now I get inflationary times when it comes to quarterbacks, but I don't care what quarterback inflation equals. If you take that guy in the 1st round, let alone the 15th overall pick, that's nuts. I said it when everyone said that Kyle Shanahan was going to draft Mac Jones with the 3rd overall pick, that would have been the most arrogant and insane pick in the history of the National Football League. And I don't even think there would have been a close second. At the moment he picked him, that would have been nuts. This guy is a fringe backup. And as time will go on, that this guy went 15th overall. And listen, that draft also, I mean, it was historically bad. Trey Lance cannot win the backup job to Cooper Rush. Zach Wilson is also the 3rd string quarterback. Beside Trevor Lawrence, who isn't that good and also now injured, at least Justin Fields is an NFL player. But man,